I'm coming in. I'm coming in. I'm coming in.
They been on it, drum on the rail. I wrap it, I bag it, I pack it for sale. Got feeling on street that hit me to chill. I give it a thrill, I put it on film. Just I get it plot, that ain't real. Come to my section and flex, we can tell. I got a show where she dipping them nails. I'm flipping my L's, I know they can tell. I did it too major, they hit me for favors. Been him since the cable was cut in the cradle. What's up, only right that I do it. Colossal until I'm a fossil, they want me to fail. Look, we prevail. Jump on your tail. Know that they talking, they telling them tales. Just know how to tell, that for the sale.
Honestly, I know it's hard to believe, but you have to trust me. It's got maximum taste and zero sugar.
Stop playing games, wooden boy.
No, I'm a real boy.
Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, zero sugar. Try and believe.
What do you see here? Maybe history, or maybe it's the future.
Amarti mi consola. Amami ancora, fallo dolcemente, un anno e mezzo, un'ora.
Tonali plug-in hybrid, a new charge of sportiness.
Patience prevailed. It was a case for Sheldon Muscat last time out that it was always going to be about keeping feet on terra firma. A solid performance by every stretch of the imagination was one which capitalized on everybody else's misfortune. That's why he walks into today as the championship leader on a week of weeks which for Belgium is known for the triple. The Amstel Gold Race, La Flèche Wallonne, which happened yesterday, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège this weekend, which goes right outside this circuit where we are today with the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup, powered by Intercomp. This is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, at one time the greatest street circuit in the world, and now one of the great racing venues of the world. Round 2 of 5 here today. I'm Jake Sperry, Adam Reed, along with me for the ride. Adam, this is a circuit that needs no introduction. It is so critical as a track that it bends the rules on what makes a FIA Grade 1 circuit. It is slightly outside of the boundaries, but it's so brilliant that it does have to step slightly over the lines.
Hi, Jake. Yes, so I'd say an absolutely classic circuit, one of the all-time greats in motorsport history. Some of our V1 Mod Series watchers may know this circuit all too well, but this time we're not going around with 1,000 horsepower cars. This time it is going to be with some heavy closed cockpits GT racing cars, and it is one for the eyes. It's going to be so spectacular. This circuit holds so many challenges, and it's going to be such a difficult one to grasp for our drivers. I hope they have been doing their practice lap, because they're especially going to need it around here, and I'm so excited to see what these drivers can do. This series is already off to a really good start.
It is, and you really do get the sense that around this circuit, you have to be at 100% because everybody does know it so well, and everybody has driven this circuit so well. So you need to be at better than best to go and get the result that you want here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Now, there are changes to the calendar from what was provisionally looked at. Round 4 of the championship this year was going to be rather important because we were going to jump over, of course, to Suzuka in Japan. That has been switched now with the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, which is an important switch out there, of course, because, Adam, this is all about participation. This is all about getting the best drivers in, the most amount of drivers in for the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup powered by Intercomp. And to do that, you've got to give everyone the opportunity to say, you're racing for free in this championship, and you don't need to go out there and buy a brand new circuit. So that's why Misano jumps onto the calendar on the 16th of May.
Definitely, it's going to be one of those awesome circuits. I have been looking at that circuit for the last couple of weeks now. Of course, that circuit is known with MotoGP, with most recently Formula E series went there, so to kind of turn that circuit into a little bit of a but of course GT cars are well known around that circuit. We'll get into that when we get to Misano in a month's time. But there are your race results from last time out. Sheldon Muscat in his BMW taking full force up at the front with Michael Mercier in the McLaren. A lot of Ferraris in the field, but they only managed third and fourth. Dean Vella having a few struggles in his Ferrari. And of course, Aaron De Battista in P4 there with Denzel and Agius in P5 in his McLaren. So some very respectable names, some very respectable constructors up at the top of the standings. But Spa is one of those circuits that can throw an absolute curveball at whatever possible time it wants, really. You have got a 45-minute race, which will decide the outcome, and of course will really switch up the championship depending on how our other drivers do. There is the current standings with Sheldon Muscat leading the standings. It's going to be pretty close for now, but of course we'll have to really see how it gets on during this second round of the championship.
We certainly will. His BMW M4 GT3 certainly proved to be on the mark, but a number of McLaren 720S GT3 Evos and the Ferrari 296 GT3s had a lot to say. It was a split of 5 and 4 between them, rounding through the top 10. But in a short championship like this, you have to be on the points quickly, and 6 points right now for Sheldon Muscat over Michael Mercier is going to be enough to say right now that is a decisive advantage. But as we all know, Spa is a little bit of a difficult temptress to take at this circuit. And Adam, I think the most important thing to keep in mind about what makes this track so crucially important is going to be the fact that there is something out there for everyone. There are long straights, but there is that technical middle sector which can absolutely bring everybody together. It is, of course, one of the classic race circuits beloved by drivers and spectators alike, but you got the opportunity to make the attack up the hill into Lake Coombe. You've got that very technical middle sector that will benefit the cars with the shorter wheelbases and maybe a little bit less in terms of straight line. But then, of course, you've got that fearsome run through Blanchemont to that final chicane of this circuit of 7 kilometers and 4 meters.
You really have to factor in every single point of the circuit. Those really long straights will benefit the grunt of like the Mercedes and the BMW. So Sheldon Muscat must be loving that Camel straight. As you say, we get into the qualifying session. Those technical sections will be for the likes of Lamborghini, for the likes of the McLarens and your Ferraris. But yeah, really looking forward. This 20 minutes is going to be crucial here, Jake. I think it's going to really decide where you get put on the grid. And of course, you're going to be going the start 2 by 2, and the first corner isn't going to be La Source. I believe it is going to be that run up Eau Rouge and Radion.
Of course, we are running an endurance race here today, which means the good news around this circuit is that it has the endurance layout. But of course, start-finish line will be determined as the Grand Prix start-finish line here today. So that is going to mean that they will finish the race coming out of this final chicane. But crucially, it's a long pit lane that they will have to deal with today. They will have to jump in through the pits, transfer from the new pit lane into the old pit lane, and then charge back forward as we focus with Samuel Mifsud out there at the moment for Bearded Racing, looking to try and attack. You can see there the orange bollards on the right-hand side indicating that it will be the long transfer of the pits. But the one thing you have to remember here, this was a public road essentially until the mid to late 2000s, which really does give you a sense of that there is still that element of they have left almost all of this section of track unchanged from their most recent changes to the circuit when this track did finally become its own circuit in its own right. Before that, there's a little change here, a little change there, and a lot to do with the chicane at the finals corners.
For sure, that chicane has been changed around. If you are a Formula 1, you may realise it back in the Schumacher day, but a lot of this has been changed all throughout history. But this is the layout we have, and it's just incredible seeing the sites deep in the Ardennes forest and some of the most beautiful pieces of racetrack you will ever see. Team Vela in his Ferrari. Let's go on to the drivers, because he had a bit of a difficult run last time out at the Nürburgring. A couple of mistakes there, starting from the pole position. He's going to hope to try and make it up in this second round of the championship. Just depends on how that Ferrari goes around here, because of course these two cars have their own uniqueness. They have their different strengths and weaknesses, and that really factors in at every single circuit we go to.
It certainly does. The balance of performance so very important, as Dean Vella's been looking for a little bit of space out there to try and pivot onto a representative flying lap, trying to pick apart a little bit of an area where he can go and really attack this circuit. It is a long one, of course, so that means there will be opportunities to make overtakes over the course of the race. But here in qualifying trim, finding a little bit of a gap is sometimes a bit easier than other circuits, but we have seen what makes this circuit quite troublesome for some out there. Mifsud, with the first time in, is a 2:18, but Mika Murcieka sets the early running then, a 2:17.3 in his McLaren 720, and just like that, it is 1 second to the good over Favreau in second. It's now Denzel Agius who's just moved up into second position as we watch Aaron De Battista over the crest at Radion, and now climbing up to the highest point on the circuit. He'll go towards Lake Coombe, and then he will find the summit, which is of course Malmedy Corner.
Sure, as you said, this circuit is very, very technical. When you get into Les Combes, you're really playing around with the throttle. It's more like, I am going back to the Formula 1 car once again, but it's just one that a lot of our viewers will be used to. You have to really play around the throttle rather than just powering it out of that second right-hander, and you have to really fiddle with the car and make sure it's staying beneath you, because once that rear goes, there's a lot of lap time you are losing, and sure, it's going to really cost you. But at this moment in time, we've completed 6 minutes. We completed 6 minutes of qualifying so far in this 20-minute session. Still a lot of laps still to be inputted. De Battista going a little bit wide there, so that will count as an off-track excursion, and he will not have that lap out. The track is still just starting to grip up here. The drivers still trying to make their way around the circuit and get used to their surroundings in the GT cars, of course, for season 1.
Yeah, and pivoting is going to be important. If you can't pivot on a banker lap, you are going to have to be quite alert to keeping it between the lines. Double gauche corner, which of course is one of the most loaded out there. So too is Blanchimont for Aaron De Battista right now, as he gets himself on the brakes into that final chicane and looks to try and work through the tyres again, looking for maybe a second lap through, a third lap through, and we'll see over the line whether that one did. Now here has moved up to the front, but only for the briefest of moments, because Mika Murcieka finds himself an extra half a second. So Mika Mercieka on the pole there, Adam. That is pretty big.
It is. It's going to be a really good stuff there from Checa, but there's still a couple more drivers to improve. We've still got 12 minutes and 15 seconds left, but at the moment, in terms of manufacturers, there are 6 McLarens in the top 10. So it does seem like McLaren are the ones to maybe beat here. They have been successful in the GT racing here, especially last time I believe in 2022 in the British GT Championship, when it was the Fox Motorsport team in that McLaren 720 Evo that won around here. So they took max points in the championship. But yeah, that car does look solid underneath a lot of our drivers like Mercek and Agius on the front row here. But this is Sheldon Muscat making his way down their cones, flashing away at the Ferrari there. Moves to the right hand side. Muscat will be looking to try and improve on this lap because of course, like the championship leader, you want to be going out and getting all those much needed points. A bit of a slide there through the Lecombe section. That black and white BMW is really going for it, making sure that car is trying to steer the car in, but it's just sliding away from him.
There's certainly a lot that can be found here in terms of pace. Dylan de Bono up into P number 4 there in his 517 Ferrari. So that is going to be rather important then in terms of time. So that's going to be quite huge. But there is the Ferrari of Dean Vella moving up second fastest too. So puts him just to get that reset going forward. But there is a lot out there that is being found right now. You've got They really are finding what they want and a little bit more out there. So that is going to be, I would say, a rather crucial phase at this point. Dylan de Bono, P5. Dean Vella then into P2. And, of course, Sheldon Muscat, the championship leader, only 4th currently at 0.4 of a second adrift.
It's pretty close up at the top end there, so there's definitely some more time still to be found. A lot of these drivers still within close contention. Look at that top 7, all within 0.8 of a second. But the Ferrari there, Dean Vella, popping that car up to P2, separating the two McLarens, and that's going to be really interesting. So I just wonder if the Ferraris coming back into play. Let's see, Romero has just gone up into P10 there, so Ferrari starting to make maneuvers here in the mid stages of qualifying. But like I said before, there is still a lot of time to be found, and I just wonder who will have that pace. Again, the track is still gripping up here. The temperature is just starting to ride that little bit, and the tires are getting more rubbered into the surface. It's starting to form, and it's all about the drivers just trying to find it.
Yeah, that form is going to be rather important here, and this is where these drivers with 8 minutes 25 seconds remaining at this moment in time really do have to switch on, really do have to.
Closing in to the end of the qualifying here. 7 minutes and 40 seconds left to go on the clock here. This is Samuel Misford coming into that final chicane. Currently sitting down in P9 in that number 12 Ferrari 296 Evo. As he comes across the line, currently gets put down to P10, but he makes an improvement, but it's only up to P10. Brandon Bonello for the Ferrari team, that beautiful red, black, and tinges of white there, heading his way around the circuit. I don't believe he was in the first round of the championship, but he has arrived on the scene from Francorchamps. And at number 43 Ferrari, he's just working his way around. He'll be very used to his Formula 1 car from the V1 Malta series, but he just jumped into that Ferrari GT3 car, and he's adapting very well. Currently sitting in 16th. If you have a look down on the left-hand side, that red box he is very much not used to GT3 racing. He's doing exceptionally well, leading that pack there. A car actually off on the left-hand side as he went in towards Pouin, but it does look like Bonello is really pushing, and he's trying to see what else he can get out of this lap. But he's definitely putting it up there with the big boys, just slotting that car in the midfield there. Currently P16, but I just wonder if he may be able to improve on this lap.
Well, that's going to be the real question here with the way that Mika Merciak has been doing well. Brandon Bonello currently 3.7 seconds adrift as things stand. Hopefully that one stage of improvement comes along. Brandon Bonello here making that push over towards the line. We'll see what that is at the moment. Sheldon Muscat back to the point by 1/10.5, but Bonello, as he crosses, remains in that 16th place, still stuck there. And even though there was an improvement of time, still down 7/10. Andrea Favreau over the line then. Can't improve for the moment.
Yeah, he's just sticking it in P10 for the moment there. That McLaren still looks strong, but I'm interested in Camilleri, who's just put it up into P7 in the one of the two Lamborghinis that are in this field. I've not seen many Lamborghinis this grid, but it's incredible to get a load of diversity on this grid. That's what I love about GT racing. It's not like yeah, you manage to get those such different cars, and the characteristics would make it even better. This is, as you said, Andrea Favreau in that beautiful black base car with the blue and the orange stripes, kind of replicating the McLaren's Formula 1 cars, but they've kind of stripped back all the paint and gone with the nice black, the more aggressive, dark stealth mode black. I wonder if that 721 McLaren is going to look to maybe improve this lap, but he's not got long left because this lap is over 2 minutes long. It takes over 2 minutes to get a lap in here. Sheldon Muscat is currently the fastest driver with a 2 minute 16.4, and with 4 minutes to go, there's not many laps to get in left. You've really got to make it with the laps you have left, with the time you have left.
There really isn't long, and Sheldon Muscat realizes right now that he has got a real opportunity right now to stamp his name down with authority and get the car where it needs to be. That BMW M4 GT3 pulls over, and I think that's going to be a very important reset back to pits with one opportunity really left to get an outlap and a flyer going. John Agius, fourth fastest. It looks like the McLarens do have a little bit of a something here. They are second, fourth, and sixth here. Both of the Agius brothers, of course, they're fourth and sixth at the moment. And there is Daniel Vella, the second of the Lamborghinis here today, all the way back in P20. But you are really getting to see that disparity of time here around this circuit. 5 seconds here would only be 3 seconds at other shorter circuits. So even though those times look massively off, you could definitely say here, Adam, that drivers are a little bit closer than what you'd expect them to be, even though they've got that massive gap of time.
Yeah, that can get closed down, but it just takes a lot in terms of setup and just trying to get the car in they're putting in the right points there. Vela doesn't seem to improve there. Yeah, he was a second slower, unfortunately. That P74 just not seeming to improve there. So the Lamborghini just having a few difficulties, but Camilleri doing absolutely wonderfully, superbly down there, up there in 7th position. Still a second off Sheldon Muscat, but sure if the Lamborghinis are quite suiting this circuit. They're very well done aerodynamically, but I just don't know how they go about the straights and the corners. It might be something for me to keep an eye on here. Denzel Agius finished P5 last time out at the Nürburgring. He's to try and put in another stellar performance and maybe put himself in the top 5 once again here around Spa. That McLaren does look strong. We've seen it in the times from Denzel himself and his factory drivers. We'll be hoping for another top 5 for sure.
Well, that hope is still there, and Agius is trying to really muster something up. 0.8 of a second adrift at the moment is Denzel, with 1.5 minutes left in qualifying. Everyone except Dylan de Bono and John Agius out there hoping for a time. So too is Shish, out of this session at the moment and will not be able to improve. So this is going to be a long filtering process here, Adam, where the last drivers over the line, you would feel, have a form of advantage.
There's a possible advantage in doing that, but with that 1 minute left, we're starting to really see the tight end, the business end of the final session. This is Denzel Agius. Once again, we've just been following that McLaren around this lap, and they're coming into Blanchimont. You just want to have a look here. Look how much of the green area he uses, because these GT cars don't fly through Blanchimont like our V1 Multi Series drivers do. They have to really pull to that right hand side and get the car turned in just that little bit earlier and get that close cockpit car over the line. But now here comes Agius. Looks like it's a slower time, so maybe the drivers have just been on these tyres for a little bit too long. We'll see what Michael Mercieka can do, currently with that McLaren in second place. And our top 3 is, as you were, from the Nürburgring, Muscat from Mercieka from Vela.
But this is the final laps that they will have, because the checkered flag will now come out here in session. There'll be no improvement from Dean Vela, who finds himself third at best. At this moment, it's now a shootout between Mercieka and Muscat through the middle sector, the Fania chicane, the right and the left, leading, of course, to this, the campus corner, named so after the campus on the inside of the corner. Now out of Stavelot and through the curve of Paul Frere, it's the race back to the little village of Spa. They will now start to go. Mercieka now trying to use all of the grunt that the McLaren 720 has at this moment through Blanchimont corner, as poised as what you can, using all of the curb and then some, trying to make something happen. Muscat is in front of him on circuit, so we'll see if he improves on his 2:16.4. He comes to the line and he can't, but can Mika Mercieka find an improvement over the line? It's a 16.617. It was an improvement, but it was a minor one. Only a thousandth or two was able to be gained, and as such, they will stay as they are at the top. So Sheldon Muscat then will get his first pole position of the season. As things stand, still a couple of drivers could go out there and improve their lap times, but we would get the sense at this point that a number of them will not be able to jump up. The checker flag has already been seen for the likes of Samuel Mifsud, so he will not be able to jump forward. Leferia's number 5, I think, is one of the only cars out there who could improve. Chris Gatt has also seen the checkered flag, and the 5 of Leferia then in the AMG Mercedes does cross the line and remains in 12th place, but a crucial qualifying, Adam, there for Sheldon Muscat, who will have the advantage when he makes that all-important rise up the hill to Eau Rouge and Radion.
Yeah, he's really put himself in prime position to get that launch. It's just all about, can he manage it through those first couple of corners. I think our drivers will definitely make sure that they are fully aware going into that section. But there are your results there. Sheldon Muscat in BMW M4 GT3 ahead of Michael Mercieka in that McLaren 720 GT3 Evo, followed by Dean Vella and De Bono there in their respective Ferrari 296 GT3s. Then it's going to be Agius, the Agius brothers there in 5th and 6th with Camilleri, De Battista, Samuel Misford, and Galea in P10 there. So a good mix of Ferraris and McLarens all in that field. You got your Camilleri Lamborghini in there as well, and that's going to be so great to see. But it is the BMW M4 Sheldon Muscat really taking the grunt of the horns and really putting it on that pole, which is going to be so crucial. And I'm really anticipating on seeing how that run up toward the hill and down Les Combes is going to go. It's going to be massive.
It will do, and it will be massive on the other side of this break. Brought to you by Intercomp, Pepsi, Motors Inc. and Level Academy. Stay with us with the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup powered by Intercomp. The race comes up after this.
Seconds. 10 seconds.
And so to racing. An all-important race that they have on their hands. It will be a short run here, of course, through the last source hairpin to get themselves back to starting once again. But this is important here for Sheldon Muscat. The Ferrari was the strongest in the opening sector. It was Muscat strongest in the middle sector, and Mercieka best in the final sector. So 3 different strengths and 3 different cars. That's going to be the key. Now, 1 mandatory pit stop will be required here for the 45 minutes worth of racing. We do expect to see that at around the half-hour stage of this race. But the second round of the championship here of your MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup, powered by Intercomp, makes its way down the hill, waiting for the start line and the opportunity under the Total Energies banner. We will get ourselves underway with racing, and Sheldon Muscat will get the clearance required up through the hill. It's a safer run, of course, to start at this section than others, and here comes the almighty charge then through down this section. There's contact in the middle. It looked like it was Brandon Manello who took the massive hit and went into the wall, but already there is challenges side by side between Muscat and Mercieka on the run to Lake Coombe here as they make that charge, and it is crucially going to be Muscat holding station at the top of the hill.
Yes, he's managed to hold it there nice and firmly, but now we go into this middle section where, like you said, it's going to be those smaller wheelbase cars that are going to have the advantage. We'll have to see where it ekes out in these opening stages here. We're looking at John Agius there, currently sitting in a P5, was switching to that 97 McLaren. They dive down in towards Buell for the first time in this race, and they're just looking to see if they can make any maneuvers here. and it's still going to be a little bit cold. Brakes are going to be a little bit cold here, but now they're going to start to warm up and maybe take a little while. But Murciaka is already finding himself on the rear of Sheldon Muscat, and he's going to look to try and muster a way through here. They head down the hill and onto the lowest section of the circuit, and then they'll run all the way up through Francorchamps. And I wonder if Murciaka will be getting a huge tow down this long straight. I'm not sure if he can go for a move just yet, but he is definitely looking at it.
Yeah, he definitely wants to find himself close enough, and these early stages are very similar to what we saw in the opening round at the Nürburgring. Murciaka giving Muscat a race, John Agius back there giving a race, so too Alexander Galea, as they rush towards the chicane for the first time here in this race. Galea's too deep on the brakes, round in front goes the Lamborghini. I think that is Camilleri who's just gone around there, so that's huge there from him, and Emanuele Camilleri will fall miles back down the order. That Lamborghini, they're a little bit more trouble out there too, as Samuel Mifsud takes a tap for his troubles with Aaron De Battista, and sneaking through will be Favreau to move up into 8th place. But we are getting that sense that drivers are being a little bit aggressive on this opening lap.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's the right way to go. I think there's definitely some more room to try and avoid. But, oh, that's going to be Batshish, who's all out of shape there, spinning sideways. And how that number 9 McLaren just kept it out of the way of everyone. He's in the wall, and I think there may be some suspension damage to that McLaren. But that was an absolutely wild moment out of Radion. And it's going to be maybe the end for Jesus' race. An unfortunate start there. But looking back up the top here, Dylan De Bono, having looked there at that top 4, they're already starting to break away here at the leading pack here. We need a better idea of how those drivers are looking in behind. But we're already starting to see that line start to form up here. There is De Bono, there is John Agius, and then of course we've got the other Agius in the 89 McLaren just a little bit further back. So we've got 5 cars in the battle for the lead. All the 3 manufacturers, all with their own uniqueness as well. That's going to be a massive factor during this race.
That's Matthias Zammit around, and so too was Smith, I believe, involved. Now, there is just Zammit going around on his own. It's so easy to do at that section, and almost everyone running up over each other, trying to keep it out of dramas. And just like that, we'll be able to continue racing here at Spa over these 45 minutes. Now, there is Chris Gatt right now, who looks behind at Camilleri, who is trying to recover through the field to now jump up into 13th position. So this is going to be a rather important moment here. Camilleri searching towards the inside, and that's late as late can be, and he just about sneaks on through a tiny bit of contact as they went by, but Gatt, leaving the door open, found himself bullied out of the way. And speaking of which, here comes Dean Vella. He's going to get the slipstream here down the hill, heading towards Eau Rouge, and Radion has to fall back into line compared to Murciaka, up over the crest of the hill now and charging forward. This is where Muscat's going to have to be alert here, because everybody knows that the slipstream game up the Kemmel is always the biggest one out there. And as they make the rush heading towards Lake Coombe, line astern it is, but it is a 5-car train at the front of this field.
Really is. It's getting so close, and Dean Vella really wants to have a move there. He really wanted redemption from a disappointing race last time out at the Nürburgring, but just didn't seem to have that move. This is Cesar Romero, who's looking to try and overtake the Mercedes of La Fiera, who's now in that beautiful pink and yellow and white Mercedes, still holding 5th place down for the one of 2 Mercedes cars in this field. Romero might feel a little bit confident going into sector. Efrem Tabona's managed to join this race, and he is currently sitting in 14th once again in another Ferrari. He's trying to make his way up the field once again, but he's in a little bit of no man's land. He's got Chris Gatt in front of him, who got overtaken by the Lamborghini in the early stages, but back with this front 5-car battle. It's really getting some close getting pretty close in some of these battles, but also starting to fan out in others.
Yeah, so we are seeing these packs starting to form up here, and Mifsud Galea now 8th and 9th, and we have seen Alexander Galea quite consistent, 7th of course in the opener at the Nürburgring. He's looking at 8th place at the moment, hoping to jump up to 7th should there be some dramas a little bit further in front. We do have retirements here in this race. Shiz is one of them. Here is Matthew Caruana looking to try and jump to 16th. This is against Daniel Vella for position, and it'll be important to find a way to get through the Lamborghini. There is the AMG Mercedes making some progress. Big move over to the outside. Had to commit quickly out of the corner. Such was the speed carried by 999. And Caruana finds a move that is so brilliantly concocted, and that will jump him up an extra place. But watch out, because here is Mikhail Murchieka up the hill and hoping that he can find a little bit of magic to move up into P number 1. Hard to the inside covered goes Sheldon Muscat. Here goes the pivot to the outside to make it happen, but earlier on the brakes, can't find it, and there is side-by-side 4th and 5th between De Bono and Agius, and Agius right now loses out to De Bono under brakes.
Yeah, unfortunately there for the McLaren of Agius, they just couldn't quite get the nose in here, but that was some superb stuff from Mikhail Murchieka there. Getting in that section, but he's just inching away from that BMW. You think all the track there on the right-hand side. Muscat must be feeling the pressure as he heads in toward this left-hander of Puan. Got that to McLaren right up his rear end here, that rear wing. Really just trying to flow over the air. And really seeing if that BMW can maybe make it a bit of a game, but that McLaren does look so strong. Murchiak will be trying to use all of the road, all of his knowledge around here in Spa to make that move as we move on to Efron and Tarbon, who is currently sitting in that 14th spot there, just chasing down Chris Gatt. He has been gaining in the last lap or two and could be making the move very soon, as well as early as bus stop possibly.
Well, there is an opportunity to find it. It did used to be that bus stop. It's now just labelled as a chicane. It looks less like a bus stop at this moment. On board the front nose with John Agius there. A little bit of a line in defence by Dylan De Bono. Can't afford to drop Dean Vella here just in front. It's crucial to stay within that rubber band. It's about a second and a half that you've got to stay within that slipstream range. Otherwise, rubber band snaps and there is no more slipstream there for you. On the brakes again, the last sort of hairpin, which will open out the lap slightly on camber. That used to be the connection between the towns of Spa and Francorchamps out there, and of course we used to drive through into the town of Francorchamps and around back to the former Master King used to be the scariest corner in all of motorsport. But up the hill, Murchieka once again happy to sit and watch Sheldon Muscat here with an opportunity. Muscat perfect on the defence, and this will start to beg the question for drivers in and around whether an undercut might be worth it here today. If you're De Bono, if you are Agius, knowing how defensive you're seeing these top drivers being at the moment, where do you decide to make that pit stop, knowing it's one of the longest pit lanes of the season, and because of that, you're almost guaranteed fresh air if you pit first?
Really is a roll of dice, as I've been trying to say, but it's so finite where you want to make that pit stop, because if you don't want to come out in traffic there. If you have a look there in the Kunz, there is a huge amount of cars there. You do not want to be in the middle of that. One bit of traffic could really spell a disaster. You're just going to be following that car for half a lap, and you're going to get very infuriated. It's really just that roll that I said. There's a big possibility that De Bono and Agius could make those early pits, and even Dean Vella, if he gets a little bit frustrated behind the BMW M4 and the McLaren 720 Evo. So there will be very interesting strategies being made here and being mustered up in the minds of our drivers here with 34 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and you'd expect that maybe in the next 2-3 laps that thought will go into fruition. Gat's still hoping for a move. It's Mikolev who is in front in the BMW, so there's definitely sense that even outside of that top 10, it's going to be rather important, and it is important to talk about points because they do go down here to about 18 for championship points, all the way down to the 1 championship point for the 18th place, but Mercieka closer than he's ever been, thinking about last source. Now, is that brave or is that foolish? Just trying to find a mistake out of Muscat, who does again with his BMW M4, the sim-inspired M4 out there at the front of the field, doing an incredible job of getting traction off of the exit of the corners and building up momentum. But this is where Mercieka really can work that streamlined McLaren 720 SGT3. It's able to punch a very sleek margin, a sleek hole through the air. It's going to be full defense then once again, and once more on the brakes is covered off, and again behind. Agius and De Bono will continue on their race. Big slide through the middle of the corner, caught too much curb. Mercieka on the defense at the top of the Vista.
Oh, that's really unfortunate there for Mercieka. Vela were just sitting back there and just enjoying the view of the leader just batting it out while he's just maintaining his own race. Now he's had a face full of rear end from McLaren, and he's now having to go on the charge here. Mercieka will be a little bit frustrated that that slide happened, and he's just lost the rear of the car and cost himself about half a second, but he'll be clambering onto the back of that BMW as early as the next opportunity here. That second duo of drivers, De Bono and Agius, are also now starting to find their way into the battle, because as those front two battle away, then these two here, who we're currently looking at, could find their way into the fight, and it just mean they're going to be right on them if they were to make that undercut, which we talking about speculation. Just have to come. We'll just have to see if it actually comes into fruition.
John Agius then boosts off the train, searching around, seeing Dylan De Bono in front in 4th position, really trying to be a nuisance, driving here, there and everywhere, hoping for an angle and getting in the mirrors on the inside. He's looking racy, he's looking rather aggressive here in the opening laps of this race, and that level of aggression we haven't seen manifest itself into a move. It's just almost a case of sparring at this moment from these drivers at the front of this field. They are sparring, they are jostling for position, and it's those drivers who are patient right now, likes of Dean Vela in 3rd position. I think he's got a better shot of winning this race than Mika Mercieka has, and here's the reason why. He's not going out of his way, trying to attack, trying to be aggressive. He is very much in the game that he just has to fuel save, he just has to drive within his limits, and he will know that he will gain his advantage at the pit stop, while all of these drivers up front, Muscat of course doing the donkey work, Mercieka not saving, trying to attack. We know that Dean Vela is just going to try and play that long card here as they head up the top of the hill again.
It really is. That long card could come into factor when we get into that mid stage of the race. But as you see in there, these drivers still just sizing each other up. Of course, Mercieka has had those couple of jabs at that BMW M4, but the McLaren is just going to continue heading around this circuit and just seeing if he can make anything happen. The rear is starting to slide away here from that McLaren. You just saw it on the exit of that left-hander. It's really starting to squirm away, and he's having to just do a little bit more work to try and gain on the back of that BMW. And eventually those tires are really just going to have to go off, and then you ask the question, will those tires be able to make it to the end? Will that second set of tires be able to make it to the end as fresh as a daisy? But of course we'll have to really have to keep an eye here on Mercieka as Vela just continue to hassle and hound that McLaren as well. So Mercieka is a bit of a cork in the bottle here. If he makes a mistake now, he's going to be falling into the clutches of Dean Vela, so he's got to now push on. But how much has he got left in the tank?
Well, a little bit further back down the field, Bertrand Mikolev here in 14th position. I think There is Efron to Bone just in front in 13th in the Ferrari. So that is going to be a very important battleground between those drivers, and that has continued over the course of the race. It has strung out through the latter half of the top 10. The gap's starting to form with De Battista and Galea and Mifsud, Camilleri, Romeo and Lafela all getting their own gaps here, and you can track your favourite drivers on the right-hand side mini-map. Tiny numbers give a real sense of who's doing what. Now, we do have our first taker into the pits, and it's Zammit, who has decided to make that stop in the 111 McLaren, making the early call to jump in. So it's not often that you get to see that, drivers deciding that they need to come in, but Zammit is a fair ways down the order, and I think might be a lap or two down at this point. So that is an important call, but it does signal to everyone else that you can come in from now and make a stop, as John Agius there in the Papyrus, very dark blue, very striking McLaren at the moment, continues on his charge forward at this moment in time. And you really get the sense here, Adam, that these front five, the only way they're going to be separated is DeBono now finds himself 1.6 seconds back. The only way now the top three are going to be separated is by strategy.
Yeah, for sure. That strategy card is going to be very, very important when you make that call to come into the pit lane here. We're just having a look at the clock there. We've just ticked under 28 minutes of this 45 minutes race here. So you're really starting to think now this is going to be the time to make that pit stop here. But it's just all about, where do you make it? Also think about the gaps. I don't know if a lot of these drivers have any idea about the gaps they're going to fall into. There is, however, a wonderful gap between Romero and La Fiera. That is almost 9 seconds. You get 9 seconds of clear air if you can fall right in front of not this Mercedes, but the Mercedes a couple of cars in front of it. That's where you want to be making going out. But of course then you have to factor in that long pit lane, which is just going to be a nightmare to try and negotiate. It's a real brain stormer.
Yeah, you definitely get the sense you don't want to be in trouble like Zammit is, who's got a 30-second stop-and-go penalty, and it'll be a long day for him at the office as Caruana now jumps onto the back of Mikolev and Tabon in the race on for 13th position here in this field. Now jumping up towards the fabled Blanchimont corner, the fast left-hander sliding through wide off of the exit. Oh, is that an overtake off the circuit? That's going to be interesting there in terms of a pass from Mikolev as he went off the circuit and did not rejoin, trying to get that through. So you could definitely get a sense there. That is gaining an unfair advantage out there on the track there, Adam. He didn't make the overtake within the white lines.
No, he didn't. So that's going to be one for the stewards, and I'm sure that will be decided. Nothing decided on the game, but of course we have our own stewards here at Velocity Esports Racing, and that will get decided here. But now they're really getting stuck in, despite being down in that 18th place spot, having a difficult start there, wide from Daniel Vella in that Lamborghini, who's currently just having his own struggles at the rear end of the field. Now got Smith right in behind as well. So that trio of cars really having a ding-dong battle here. And oh my goodness me, Smith almost getting sideways and out of control there throughout that section. And speaking of out of control, that is the Mercedes of Caruana, who's just in front here of Efron Tabone. And that Mercedes is going to keep an eye on the 999.
Yeah, so that then is Caruana going through, using a lot of the AstroTurf there to hold on to that overtake, but Mikhail Chieka again sits on the back of Sheldon Muscat, continues to put him through the pressure cooker, and doesn't necessarily have him in a scenario where this race can be outright won or lost, but he is trying to force a loss out of Sheldon Muscat. These three drivers at the front know each other so well here when it comes to Assetto Corsa Competizione. Here's the search to the outside. Again, the middle of the road, the defense, but that's a little bit too deep there from Sheldon Muscat, and he's got to really pinch off of the exit to really hamper Murcieka's run as it's off camber through both. Murcieka trying to go to the inside. The door is shut there. To La Source, door is shut there as well, heading through, but look at the drive off the exit. That's where the key's going to be. And for the first time in a long time, Mercieka is about as close as he has ever been, rushing past the old pits there, which will be the exit up the hill through the brilliant Eau Rouge Radion section, up over the top of the crest, and continuing to rise onto the Camel. This is where Mercieka has got to wake up and smell the coffee, moving over to the right-hand side, hoping that he is going to battle this one through side by side into Lake Coombe. And again, Sheldon Muscat is later on the brakes.
Really good racecraft from the pair of them. They're really racing their absolute hearts out. Mercieka putting that BMW M4 under a lot of pressure, especially going into that final chicane. Fourth the BMW to the inside and outbrake the BMW, forcing him on that tighter line, just carrying all the speed down that straight. But I think now he's starting to learn with every manoeuvre he's making. Just learning at every single moment what you need to be doing as a racing driver. You need to be learning about what your opposition is doing, and I think he's going to have to force that move to the inside. He's tried it on the outside, but it's just not worked. That BMW M4 has a lot of straight line speed, and I think if he manages to get that on the inside line, it could be curtains for the lead for Muscat.
Yeah, it really could be if Sheldon Muscat realises that this race isn't for his hands. But this is still one going on. 6th and 7th. We've been quite quiet about this. Aaron De Battista looking to try and find a bit more pace. Now you can see a lot of damage there to the rear of Aaron De Battista's Ferrari as he goes through. All of that scraping looks like he's been attacked from behind in this race, and that would have happened in the early stages. So at the moment, De Battista might not be happy, and they could see a real sense of it there. The back sliding out through Blanchimont.
Yeah, that was a pretty hairy, scary moment, but De Battista managed to just hold on very, very firmly. Into the pits he comes. So this is going to be one of the top drivers coming into the pit lane now, and there you can see the speed limiter is already on. This is not where he's going to be making his pit stop, I believe. Oh, we've got somebody else. That is Dean Vella. Dean Vella from third place on the in the field has come in, made that pit stop, and that is going to really open up opportunities here. Samuel Mifsud in that number 12 Ferrari, and his Ferrari compatriot Romero have also come in now. You can really get a sense there. Oh, as Mercieka now looks at Hassan Hound, that BMW M4 once again, but he's not quite got it here. He's really sizing up that move, not quite there for that 97 McLaren. He's missing something from that battle, but he should be getting past anytime soon. But of course, pit stops coming into play now.
Yeah, and the 4 drivers who came in from nearer the top 10 were all Ferrari drivers who jumped to make that call. The BMW of Mikolev is also in, and the McLaren of Smith has dived into the pits. Now, there is less open strategy here around this circuit compared to others, just because of the fact that you have less laps to work with. So if you want to extend an extra lap, you've got to go a lot further out there than some of the other drivers in these partly cloudy conditions that they have to deal with right now. The drivers just leaving the pits shows you what the gaps are. The 54 out there trying to really push as Bono and Agius continue on their charge, but they're too busy looking at themselves, and that's why the gap to the leaders has extended out for these 2 drivers to 2 seconds, because they've been too busy looking at each other and not thinking about how do I stay on with the group. And you can start to sense that a couple of drivers are leaving the lights on. All right, now you can definitely see a little bit of glow there off of Dylan de Bono. Agius moving to the outside, hoping to make this move happen, hoping that it's going to play out. 1, 2, 3, and 4 stay out. This is going to be interesting, because the question will have to be asked out of Dean Vella. Does he have any draft partners? And if the answer is no, how good is his pace on his own?
It will be very, very interesting to see if John Agius can make that maneuver. It might not be really have a look here and see what that McLaren can do, because they're all the way down here the hill. They can see that front 2 as close as ever. In fact, we've got a back marker which should be getting out of the way immediately, because they're taking that long run out of the pit here. This is John Agius, that McLaren 720 GT3 Evo, looking to the outside line. The front two not making any maneuvers here. Blue flag already in play here, and that could be massively costing the BMWs there. And round goes, I believe that's Mercieka. Carnage in the middle, in the Lecums, and it is Michael Mercieka. Carnage here at Lecums. Can't believe it was happening.
Oh, it's on its own.
Wide. Lottery. It is on his own. That is unbelievable. Oh, that's going to be a massive hinder to his race.
Mikael Mercieka on his own, keeping up the pressure, pushing, and goes over the limit, and ultimately drops the time, and an important amount of time as well. Mila Fella will go into the pits, and so too will Emanuele Camilleri dive in the Lamborghini to make a stop. But this is huge, and it's a huge free kick in this race to Dean Vella right now, who sits in 14th position pushing. Sheldon Muscat now has the freedom in this race to push. He will now hold a gap of 3.3 seconds at the front of this one, and you really get the sense now, as they sit with 18 minutes remaining in this race, that Mercieka's got a world to chase down at this point in 4th position, and have Denzel Agius just behind. But the key to this race is going to be Muscat versus Vella, and that is what we look forward to seeing as and when the call to pits comes in, and that call is now.
It is. Muscat is going to come in now. He's must have seen that mistake in the rearview mirror of Mercieka, so he's making that pit stop early, and has now decided that now is the time he'll probably be ahead of Mercieka. No, actually, yeah, he will be, because Mercieka has also come in now, as we watch now Dean Vella in that number 54 Lamborghini, Ferrari. I'm getting confused with the two Italian manufacturers, but that car's already made a pit stop, so he is just going to continue pushing those tires up here, and he's going to want to maybe make a position or two. He will probably be past Mercieka. It's just all about the gap to Muscat as well, with 60 minutes and 50 seconds left to go of this race here at the incredible Francorchamps.
Wow, there are drivers already falling into troubles. Gat has a drive-through penalty here in this race, so you are getting the sense that drivers are running into troubles, aren't finding what they necessarily want. There is Chris Gatt, who will have that drive-through penalty to deal with. There is John Agius, but we've got to keep an eye out now on where Vella is going to come out, because he's now going to start driving by those who have already gone through. He will now head himself through the Lassos hairpin. Muscat still in the pits, has made his stop, but car 14 once again is left already up the hill. How much is he going to be compromised trying to get back onto the racing surface? Dean Vella really trying to attack. Left, right, left, and again Sheldon Muscat has got the pit stop down to a fine art, as he underfuels compared to his opponent, and his strategy, the same strategy that he had last time out at the Nürburgring, pays off again, because he's the quickest in the lane, bar none.
Oh, that's brilliant there from Sheldon Muscat. It's an absolute artist at work. He's now got that huge 6-second lead there to Dean Vella. We can continue to watch De Bono and Agius. I wonder if there's going to be any moves made before that pit stop, but they've just got to now make their way in. And speaking of coming in, no, Agius decides to stay out and continue chasing down that Ferrari. I just wonder if that will hamper his race just that little bit here, because that Ferrari again still not come in the box here, and that could find him quite the way down compared to top three drivers of Muscat, Vella, and whoever we had, of course, our spinner.
Yeah, so we had Mikael Mercieka, of course, spinning about, but Agius now looking for some time at the front of the field as race leader here, with Dylan De Bono. Of those three drivers yet to come in and make a stop, those, of course, are the Agius brothers and De Bono, and De Bono again has enough in that Ferrari on a straight line speed to cover everything off that the McLaren has. That run up the hill, we have already noted, that is where the Ferrari's domain is. This domain here, the middle sector, is more where the BMW tends to shine, and then that final sector is all McLaren out there. So you get a sense that there's 3 different areas out there. Brandon Manello, by the way, will have a 30-second stop-go penalty to serve, either at the end of this race by time addition or by jumping back into the pits again. So with 14 minutes left, these drivers still have a choice to jump in and make their stops out there. And just looking down through the field, it looks like Mika Murcieka is out, and so he will not score here today around this circuit. So he is gone. He will not score a championship point. So this is where Dean Vella's got to attack. Here is Maya Lafela now looking, and she is definitely looking to try and find that move. And this would be on Smith to jump up to P12.
Yeah, that will be really crucial for the Mercedes-AMG GT3. Looks to maybe make a move there, but a bit of a slide from the rear of that Mercedes. Really trying to pump in the lap times here, but she's got a trio car field there of Smith, Bella, and Bonello there. Back with this leading pack, and in comes John Agius. So he has decided to, Agius had decided to say, right, let me get this undercut done, and you're not coming into the pits, so I will. And he is one of 3 drivers yet to make that stop. Now back with this battle. Look at those 4 cars heading their way. A bit of a mistake there from James Smith as he looks to maybe head his way down towards last source. Is he maybe going to make a move here? Oh, he's not quite, not going to be able to make a move. Was Maya Lafera, maybe on the way up towards the Camel Straits and Les Combes, because that Mercedes-AMG GT3 has a lot of grunt in it compared to that McLaren.
Yeah, and it's all about pace. It's 5.3 seconds. That's a wide line being taken by the McLaren of Smith. And there you'll have to pay that back, because here will go Maya Lafela straight through up the hill. No arguments about it, with both Agius brothers into the pits. It's De Bono who is out in front, who leads this one in the 517 machine. But number 14 is about to put back ahead of the 2 McLarens there and jump back into that second position. So it's about half a lap what is the pit stop around there, but a nice accomplished move there by Maya Lafela. That was as easy as it comes for a move, knowing as well that another place to be gained with Bonello's 30-second stop-go penalty. There is Muscat, now officially back up into second. Just 1 driver to hold and chase, and that, of course, is Dylan De Bono, who leads this race at the moment, yet to stop. Agius with a drive-through. John Agius with a drive-through, and Dean Vella hits the instant limit and has a drive-through.
Oh, super unfortunate there from 2 of our top contenders. And those mistakes will really build up when we get to our season finale at the beautiful Brands Hatch circuit. These will be the ones that are really going to be costly. Unfortunately there, for both of our drivers, they're going to have to serve that drive-through penalty, and that will send them tumbling all the way down the field. Unfortunately there for Bella, who managed to get himself up into a net second place. Still trying to chase down Muscat, albeit 5 seconds behind. But yeah, unfortunate there for our number 54 Ferrari with that fast lap. We now look at his brother Daniel Vella, who's being chased down by that Mercedes of Maya Lafera.
Yeah, so this is the group right now, which is about to go back onto the leading lap, because in finally is Dylan De Bono, who will be making his 1 and hopefully only stop in this race by diving through in the pits. And you really get a sense as Daniel Vella now looks to descend down the hill and charge, as Samuel Mifsud finds himself in P8 at this moment in time with 10 minutes to go. You really get a sense with a race like this, Adam, it is all about, when it comes to Sheldon Muscat, the fact that he's not necessarily quicker than everybody else, even though he's got pace up there to be up the top. It's the fact that he just doesn't make mistakes. Look at the pace of the McLaren. Bye-bye, says Smith. And suddenly, it's going to be Lafela as well, who's going to be looking around at this. That's going to be huge. There's the move on Velo, who has to leave the room. Almost getting a swipe of it. Lafella now trying to dive around the outside of Malmedy. Not going to be able to find it.
No, unfortunately not. She's looked to try and make that little switchback, that little cheeky switchback where that Lamborghini was just not looking. Just unfortunately got the door stamped shut in her face. But that number 5, Mercedes, is an absolutely, is really absolutely going for it. She really wants those extra positions here. That is the lonely BMW there, Sheldon Muscat. That is Dylan De Bono, who has, I believe, been overtaken here. In fact, he has. Mel Muscat getting a little bit slidey there. Easy, Tiger, you got a race to finish, yes, and you have to now look after your tyres for 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
It's been quite simple, really, for Sheldon Muscat. Of course, the penalty's being served by Dean Vella and John Agius. It promotes Aaron De Battista now up onto the podium. Denzel Agius now to 4th. Camilleri finds himself now in P5 in this race because of it. And a drive-through penalty around here is a huge penalty. Another look here at what's just happened with Camilleri, and that just in front, I believe, was Agius. Oh, and a hefty bit of contact to go along with that too, into the door. And that there is Denzel Agius, I believe, falling back. Now, John Agius finally departs the pits. In comes Brandon Bonello for his 30-second stop go out there, which will drop him way down the order. But Maki Caruana comes, finds Dean Vella. He's just come back out in 7th place. That is a hefty penalty. A drive-through penalty at certain circuits is only going to give you about 20 seconds worth of time loss, 25 seconds worth of time loss. Adam, here it's nearly a minute.
Yeah, that's not a great differentiation either. But this is going to be something entertainment here. This is Efron Tabone looking to make a move here on Daniel Vella. He breezes past the Lamborghini and just manages to get the grunt all the way down the Camel Straight, and he's just going to resume in front there and up into P12. Great move there from Tabone, and I wonder if he's going to go after Maya Lafera. That Mercedes still got that Lamborghini to deal with, but finally dispatched onto the next one.
Yeah, and it's a case of one more's to find here in this race. Can you find one more overtake? And that is certainly the sense that you got with Efron Tabone now looking to chase, and everybody thinking, well, can I find one more overtake here, one more overtake there? And as is tradition with endurance racing, a lot of the gaps up near the front have now just extended, and as such, you really get a sense now of the driving speed around this circuit, this hot lap mentality that comes into play. 7 seconds to the good here, Sheldon Muscat, but Dylan De Bono here has definitely had that ability, but you get the sense now that Sheldon, with a gap of 7 seconds, can just focus in now in the final stages of this race. Lean into the strategy with the gap that he's afforded. He's got an extra 2 seconds in the back pocket, and he can play the lift and coast game if he needs to get himself home. He has just cleverly worked it out, and one of the greatest drivers I've ever had the privilege of commentating on in sim racing, Adam, is the 5-time legendary champion Gregor Houtu, who simply put was a cut above, and his key talent was he was the best on an in-lap, he was the best in the pit lane, and he was the best on an out-lap. And Sheldon Muscat has just personified that with the 5 seconds margin that he built on everybody else.
That's a brilliant story, to be honest, Jake. I'm so glad that you've told me that. But yeah, he really just absolutely commanded this race, and it doesn't feel like we've done 16 laps or coming on to 17 laps. It just feels that lot longer. But Scat has just been unbelievable, and really being able to maintain these gaps here. He's just doing a really good job. But back with some more action here. This is Emmanuel Camilleri. That Lamborghini has faced a few issues during this race, especially with that huge bash to the side of the, I believe, the driver's side door. No, that'll be the passenger side door at the Lacombe chicane. Now chasing down Agius there in the number 89 McLaren. Is he going to have a look up the inside? no, it doesn't look like it. He's just going to back out of that one. Smart thinking here. Maybe set up a move later on in the lap here. But we're really closing on in this race here. 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. So these drivers have got about 2 laps left here. And you can see that in terms of time there, on your bottom right, Sheldon Muscat has really toned down that BMW. He's 1.5 seconds slower, so he may have turned up the wicks on the traction control, turned up the ABS, and just maybe turned down the power in the engine, just because he just needs to save it. He just doesn't need to make any silly mistake like unfortunately Mercier made earlier on in the race.
In the grand scheme of this race, it is all about trying to find an element of consistency. The early stages of this race were fraught with what might have been out there. Bart Shish, by the way, is going to get points today after being 2 laps down at one point in this race. That is a huge boon of skill to have out there, to know that everybody else is going to run into troubles, is going to get penalties, go to retire, to have that courage to go out there, to drive for it, and make something happen. And that's where you're getting that real sense. Bart Shish is going to get a handful of points here today, and it's certainly going to deserve it. Top 10, not out of the realms of possibility here for Maya Lafela, trying to attack with, of course, Smith, who is there in 10th place. So this a really important opportunity here for Maya Lafela to get a big boon of points for her championship aspirations.
Sure, she's done a brilliant job over the last couple of laps here, really homing in on that top 10. It would be massively impressive to see both Mercedes in that top 10 after having a few struggles. This circuit does not suit the Mercedes as it should do. There's been some fantastic drivers in the real life Mercedes GT3 even, but they've just not quite had their fair share of success. That's more being down to the BMWs, to the McLarens, to the Ferraris in the history of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. But there have been some really brilliant racing all throughout this race here, and I've been super impressed with a lot of these drivers. That is Daniel Vella. That Lamborghini has had a solid race so far, chasing down Bart Shish for 13. So in fact, that move done by Shish, 9 McLaren, really having an absolutely fairy tale of a second half of this of this race. My apologies.
Yeah, this has been a really great race, and you've definitely got that sense that there's a number of drivers here who wouldn't necessarily have found themselves at the starter today looking at big positions, but as that huge slide out of Campus Corner, catching the curb and the AstroTurf, that is another mistake. It's compounded by number 46 there. And Maya Lafela will jump inside the top 10 for the first time in this race with 1 minute and 12 seconds remaining. And of course, the remaining lap of the race that is due at this point. Hitting the brakes here in towards that chicane and overcooking it there, but crucially so too Will Smith, who cuts up and under, looking for that move. They will drag race here towards the opening corner, La Source, and all of a sudden Maya Lafela needs to be braver on the brakes. Front to rear tyre contact just about opens up the door on the inside and takes the place away, but there's still a long straight coming yet up the top of the hill. So there is still definitely opportunity, and it's worth noting that car 14 is heading through the final chicane right now, which means there are 2 laps to go, soon to be 1, and again cutting over the top of the hill is there. Sheldon Muscat with 20 seconds remaining on the clock will have another lap still to go through, and there'll be a couple drivers who'll be looking at that thinking, I'm going to have to look at my fuel gauge.
Yeah, it really is a possibility that the eyes are going to turn onto the fuel, as well as the feeling of the tyres underneath them, because they've gone quite the long way. We tick down to 0 here. Sheldon Muscat, who's, as I said, really looks like he turned the wicks back up at a 2:18.0 last time out. And that just shows what Muscat is capable of. He is really just one of those drivers that knows this game inside out. He knows this car inside out. Just watching Sheldon Muscat driving this BMW M4 GT3 is like watching Raffaele Marciello in his Mercedes AMG GT3. It's like watching Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes W11, Max Verstappen in his RB19, and it's just one of those driver and car combinations that fit like a glove and work like magic.
There have been 57 different homologations of GT3 cars all the way back from inception on October 1st, 2006. This car is probably one of the most important in the new development. Number 53, the BMW M4 GT3, sim-inspired to find pace in the real world and doing exactly that at this point. But here in its natural habitat, it has got a sensational Maltese driver in Sheldon Muscat, who is Terminator-like in the way that he has driven here today on a famous week in Belgium. He is proving at the most famous Belgian track how good he is. He may just be king of the hill, but I tell you what, he is going to go places again and again and again. Sheldon Muscat 2 for 2. He is unstoppable and everybody else is crumbling at his feet.
Here's an absolutely incredible finish there for Sheldon Muscat. Dylan De Bono finishing home in second, albeit 6.5 seconds back. And Aaron De Baptista, who was had a damaged rear end the entire race, comes home in third, managing to keep his composure throughout this race and manages to slot that Ferrari home on the bottom step of the rostrum. We knew that he was going to go for a top 5, and it was a top 3 this time around. A brilliant kudos there to Emmanuel Camilleri in the Lamborghini. A really solid race for a lot of these drivers. Dean Velek was hoping for a bit better, but he's having his own struggles. He will look to try and bounce back as we head to the next race. But yeah, absolutely fantastic race here around Spa, and it's just one of those circuits that you enjoy the sights and the sounds, but also the racing. There's always something superb about racing here at Spa.
Yeah, and the likes of Maki Caruana comes over the line as well. Dean Vella will feel like this is a missed opportunity here today in P6. So too will Mika Murcieka feel like today is a missed opportunity with a non-point scoring finish. When all things are said and completed, you look around and there are some big results late here. For example, Maya Fela will pick up 8th place here in the final sections. It is Samuel Mifsud who has fallen back outside of the top 10 to P11 out there. So a huge mistake by the Ferrari driver then in the final stage to pull back 3 spots. Heading towards the end, a huge P8 for Lafela, and really you get the sense that there are a number of drivers today who feel like today was their opportunity. Mika Murcieka, their P19, no points. That is going to be a huge one here today in terms of where they look. And again here, Adam, it is quick turnaround that they are going to have, because they realize so quickly here that they have got to be alert. There are your final results. 6.5 seconds the margin for Sheldon Muscat over Dylan De Bono, with Aaron De Baptista third, Denzel Agius, and then Emmanuel Camilleri in fifth, Dean Vella, Maki Caruana, then John Agius, Maya Lafela, and Ephraim Tabone making your top 10. But it is such a quick turnaround week on week on week for the first 3 rounds of this championship. It is back to back to back. And you really get that sense, you really get that understanding that the Hungaroring is going to be a much different challenge to the one that they have faced today.
It really, really is. I'd love to just get like 2 different track maps of Spa and Hungary and just really get the difference, because my goodness me, are they just 2 completely different tracks. And until we really get into next week, we don't really have an idea who will kind of get to grasp with these circuits. I'd love to say it'll be one of the McLarens. I'd love to say it'll be one of the Ferraris, but really just cannot have this conversation about a winner at the Hungary and not involve Sheldon Muscat. It would just be silly.
Well, the only place you can catch that is with us at Velocity Esports Racing. Do apologise for a couple of technical difficulties that we had during the course of qualifying here today. But this show has been brought to you in collaboration with Intercomp, Pepsi, Motors Inc. and Level Academy. The MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup, powered by Intercomp. From Adam Reed and myself, Jake Sperry. What a showcase of just proving that you can be ironclad as a driver. One driver who cannot make mistakes compared to everybody else who is making mistakes. This is quite simply Sheldon Muscat's championship to lose. He is 2 from 2. And the next round's the Hungaroring 1 week from today. You will definitely want to jump in with us, because that marks the halfway stage of the season, and you do not want to miss a thing.